My next guest is a victim of gun violence himself, House Minority Whip Steve Scalise, the Republican from Louisiana. And sir, good morning to you, and thank you for coming on our program. What's the solution here?
Well, Bill, it's good to be back with you. And really, the president's got a responsibility to keep Americans safe, and I'm glad that he's carrying out his duties as the president of the United States to do that, even if some of these local mayors are not going to be willing to keep their people safe. And you've seen the defund police movement, and whether it's Joe Biden saying he's going to allocate money away from police officers, that is defunding police. That's not where most Americans are, and Americans deserve to be safe in their homes and to be safe when they go about their business. And right now, some of these mayors aren't providing that, which is very unfortunate.
We caught this video that emerged yesterday, happened over the weekend, of the Chicago officers guarding the this Christopher Columbus monument, and they in broad daylight. They were hit pretty good. I caught this soundbite from the police superintendent in Chicago, David Brown. Just listen here.
Peaceful demonstrations have been hijacked by organized mobs. We just don't want to believe people will act this way toward us, that they would take advantage of our sacred right to First Amendment.
Oh, that's quite a statement. Hijacked by organized mobs. We just don't want to believe people would act this way toward us. What do you think of that?
Yeah, you know, look, I strongly support peaceful protests, but we've seen in some of these cities, anarchists have taken over and gone out and looted and burned down buildings. That's not peacefully protesting. And that's where you've got these mayors that need to be standing up and protecting their communities. Some are doing it really well, by the way, but some aren't. And I think people want to be safe and secure in their homes. They deserve that. It's a right. They pay taxes to have police forces to keep them safe. And police officers do an incredible job. They're brave police officers every day who risk their lives. If there's a bad cop, go root them out. But by and large, the vast majority of police are risking their lives to keep us safe. We need to back them up and give them the support and the tools that they need to do their job safely.
We've talked about this a lot. I'm going to turn your focus now to COVID in schools and how we get things moving in the classroom yet again. I know there's talks on Capitol Hill today. There is a union in Florida pushing back on the whole idea, teachers union, about going back to school. Here's the quote. The governor needs to accept the reality of the situation here in Florida, where the virus is surging out of control. Everyone wants schools to open, but we don't want to begin in-person teaching, face an explosion of cases and sickness, then be forced to return to distance learning. That's from the Florida Education Association President Frederick Ingram. What is your view now as you look at the science and taking the input from the experts as to how we get school going again, sir?
Bill, this is a critical debate that we have to get through right now. Look, we put a man on the moon. To suggest that we can't figure out a way to safely reopen schools is ludicrous. You've got the American Academy of Pediatrics, very respected, that laid out good guidelines for how to safely do it. But they also talked about the damage it does to kids if they're not getting that in school learning. There's a lot of science behind this. It's well documented. I was with Dr. Birx and Vice President Pence and others last week at LSU, where we were talking about the protocols for safely reopening schools, which we're doing in Louisiana. Other states need to figure out how to do it because it's a disservice to these kids. And by the way, if there's ever been a stronger argument for school choice, if a school system's willing to take your money but not figure out and do the hard work of figuring out how to safely reopen, and there's somebody else that's willing to educate your child in person safely, you ought to be able to have the dollar follow the child so that they can get the in-person learning. It's about the children. Mm-hmm. We as adults have to do our work to make sure we're serving those kids. It would be a cop-out to say you can't do it.
I just find the money here I think there was $31 billion for schools in the CARES Act. And now they're talking about $71 billion in the next phase. That's $100 billion for schools. What do we do with that
Bill,
money?
there's already so much money out there that is not even spent. Over $100 billion in a paycheck protection program that hasn't been spent. Who knows how much, because we haven't been able to get the full accounting of how much states have. It's in the tens of billions that they still have that we've allocated. There's a lot of money out there. What we need is the resolve to get it done. Again, we put a man on the moon. You could have figured out 100 reasons not to do it. We said we're going to make it work, and we did, and we returned them safely. We can open up schools safely. The protocols are out there. Other systems are doing it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. But to say you can't do it, they're okay with taking the money, but then they don't want to educate the children. That would fail those children who deserve that opportunity to be taught in school. We need to make it happen.
Your point today is find a way to yes, and we'll see whether or not they can. Sir, nice to see you.
Find a way to get it done. This is America.
Nice to see you. Steve Scalise, thanks for coming on today. We'll see you soon.